Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. Serious business once again. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3, and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, live on the air at 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And yes, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all of your favorite podcast platforms. The Middle East and the Fed taking the spotlight in the financial world today. The Wall Street Journal now reporting President Trump privately approved of attack plans for Iran, but has withheld a final order. The president is hoping that threatening to join Israel's strikes will lead Tehran to abandon its nuclear program. Stocks ended the day mixed today with the prospect of the U.S. joining Israel-Iran hostilities, keeping investors on edge. The Federal Reserve, meanwhile, held interest rates steady, while the Fed managers diverged over the ultimate path of interest rates this year. The Dow coming in for a closing loss of 44 points, had been higher before the Fed decision. The S&P 500 closed down 2, and the Nasdaq gained 25 points. The yield in the 10-year note at 4.40%. The price of gold hovering close to $3,400 an ounce. Platinum has seen quite a rise lately. We'll take a closer look at platinum here, hovering above $1,300 an ounce now, $1,320.50 here at last check. And palladium is holding above 1,000 at 1,057. Silver has seen a pretty big move lately as well, and it's hovering just below $37 an ounce after blowing past $37 an ounce yesterday. A day after President Trump demanded Iran's unconditional surrender, President Trump says the U.S. will not kill the supreme leader for now. The president also told his senior aides that he approved of attack plans for Iran, according to the Wall Street Journal, but was holding off to see if Iran would abandon its nuclear program. People familiar with the deliberations said this to the Wall Street Journal. Iran's well-defended Fordow enrichment facility is a possible U.S. target, according to the Journal, buried under a mountain and generally considered by military experts to be out of reach of all but the most powerful bombs which the U.S. possesses. Asked if he had decided whether to strike at Iran's nuclear facilities, the president said, "I may do it, I may not do it." And he repeated his insistence of Iran's unconditional surrender. He said the next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week, quoting the president. The Iranian supreme leader earlier said his country will not surrender and warned any U.S. military intervention would bring irreparable consequences. Meanwhile, the U.S. military building up forces in the Middle East. A third U.S. Navy destroyer entered the eastern Mediterranean. A second U.S. carrier strike group is heading toward the Arabian Sea, while the Pentagon said the military buildup is purely defensive. It better positions the U.S. should President Trump decide to join Israeli attacks on Iran and wipe out their nuclear program. It could also be a tactic to pressure Iran to capitulate or make concessions or surrender, as the president has requested. I'll discuss the latest on the Middle East crisis with Middle East expert Dan RAVIV, former network news correspondent, author of numerous books, including his latest, Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars. He also wrote Every Spy a Prince, and his latest book is The Quest for Significance. Dan RAVIV will be joining me live later this hour. In downtown Los Angeles, residents, businesses, and yes, the homeless are dealing with the fallout from a week-long curfew. Turbulent times in downtown L.A. recently, making the plight of the homeless even worse. They are finding a safe space and life-saving help at the Union Rescue Mission, the #1 organization helping the homeless in L.A. And one of their biggest events of the year is happening at Griffith Park this Saturday, the URM 5K Run Walk. A lot happening. I'll discuss all of that on the homeless front, and I'll talk about it with the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission, Mark Hood, who will be joining me live later this hour. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Let's bring in Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management and author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel Wisdom, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Frank. Big consequences here in the rhetoric that we're hearing in the action in the Middle East. Iran is the fourth largest producer in the OPEC alliance, and they also control the Strait of Hormuz, which is considered a choke point for oil flows globally. I mean, this is a very serious situation. I was reading, it might have been Yahoo Finance, that since 1979, there have been some 8 regime changes, notable regime changes that have occurred in the oil-producing nations. Prices of oil have been all over the board during those 8 regime changes, and if that's what we get in Iran, then oil very likely goes substantially higher. But for now, the OPEC nations have increased production quotas in the months leading up to Israel's strike. So oil prices have been somewhat contained, but this is a real wild card that we're witnessing now. Good thing the markets are closed tomorrow.
Right, they are closed tomorrow for Juneteenth, so our U.S. markets will be closed for a federal holiday. We'll reopen on Friday, so we'll pick up again on Friday after a one-day break tomorrow. But certainly, price of oil very much in focus given the latest upheaval in the Middle East. Are you surprised that we haven't seen an even higher spike in the price of oil? Right now, crude oil in New York hovering just below $75 a barrel.
I guess I am a bit surprised, Frank, but I know with regard to the Strait of Hormuz that the Iran basically controls, the United States maintains a very strong naval presence in that region. One of the major concerns, I would say, is that Iran might resort to using biological or chemical or other non-conventional weapons. There's been threats of this nature in the past. So, yeah, I think I'm concerned.
All right. In the meantime, we've seen the precious metals move higher in all this. Gold hovering near its all-time high, just shy of 3,400 here at the moment. Interestingly, platinum has seen a big rise now of about 44%, I believe, since the start of the year, at around 1,320 an ounce. So what are your thoughts here on the precious metals, the latest moves we've seen, and where they go from here?
Well, I've liked them for some time, and it's not because I'm a gold or a metals bug, to use the vernacular. It's because of the expansion in AI, data centers, just silver, for example, a metal that everybody's familiar with. It's an essential metal in manufacturing. It goes into semiconductor manufacturing, smartphones, solar panels, but also medicines and paint and ink. And there's more and more production in the AI and data center area. So this is one reason why we've seen silver go higher, but it's got a long way to go before it reaches the 2011 highs of $48.70. And of course, the big high in silver occurred when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the silver market in 1980. We saw almost $50 an ounce. The other metals, it's the expansion of the world economies. Platinum is the primary metal in the catalytic converters for hybrid vehicles. This is a growing area.
On the air live with money manager Gabriel Wisdom with American Money Management and author of Wisdom on Value Investing. You think silver will test the all-time high? Might it blow past $50 an ounce this year?
I agree with the analysts and some of the major New York firms that have a higher price target for silver. One of the old reliables is the gold to silver ratio, Frank. This is where you can value silver based on how many ounces one ounce of gold or how many ounces of silver 1 ounce of gold would buy. So if you divide the price of 1 ounce of gold by 1 ounce of silver, you get 92.4 ounces of silver. That means silver's cheap. It should be that you get about 60 or 70 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. So just fundamentally, it's been undervalued.
And right now, silver just below $37 an ounce here. It has certainly seen an impressive run-up in the last year or so. What about digital gold, so-called, the cryptos? I know you keep an eye.
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
Inside the opening 45 seconds. What a goal!
Jack McGlynn with that cannon of a left foot.
Never miss a game.
What a start for the United States.
Shot from distance. What a goal!
Never miss a moment.
Exquisite from the San Diegan.
Can he finish? Yes, he can! Yeah!
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
And that, and interestingly, Bitcoin has held up quite well recently. Right now, hovering above 105,000 here at last check. In fact, up nearly 1,200 here at the moment at 105.13. That's the latest quote I have here. What about Bitcoin and the crypto space?
Well, Bitcoin, the big plus for it is that it's under accumulation by individuals and institutions. There's only a limited amount of it. You could say that about a lot of different commodities, but Bitcoin is the leader. And every time somebody loses their wallet password, there's less Bitcoin in circulation for pretty much ever. There was one crypto investor. There've been a number of these, but there was one fellow in the UK, a British IT worker, that accidentally threw away his hard drive, which contained 8,000 Bitcoins. That's worth hundreds of millions of dollars at today's value. He still can't find it. He's paid the landfill in the UK to go and look for his hard drive. Another guy got locked out. You only get 10 password attempts before it locks you forever. He's out several $100 million. This creates a lot of buzz, certainly.
That's unfortunate, and we're watching what's happening in the crypto space very closely. We haven't even talked about the Fed yet, really. Normally, that would be the top story of the day. The Federal Reserve, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and company holding the line on short-term interest rates and releasing a statement on the economy. What were the big takeaways on that today?
Well, I wasn't surprised, Frank, that the Fed held steady. This is a difficult situation. We've got strong labor force, though there are some threats. Microsoft is laying off about 7,000 workers, mostly in sales because of AI. We're seeing the same thing happen with other large tech firms and traditional firms as well. AI is giving companies a lot more leverage with regard to labor, but at the same time, we do have some sticky inflation. The Fed only influences the economy. It doesn't control the economy. That dot plot, which is essentially the opinions of the 19 policymakers at the Federal Open Market Committee, that suggests that we'll have another rate cut, maybe even two by the end of the year. But so far, the Fed has a conundrum. There was one open air indicator, a recent report on retirement savings from, I think it was Northwestern Mutual. Anyway, they found that the average American needs $1.3 million in savings to achieve a comfortable retirement. That is $200,000 less than you needed last year. So the cost of things has been going down, and I'm sure the Fed is taking a look at not just the technical indicators, but the open air as well.
That's very interesting. And I noted in their updated forecast, the Fed now expects inflation as measured by their favorite gauge. We're told that PCE index, the core personal consumption expenditures index, to jump to 3.1% by the end of the year, up from a rate of 2.5% in April. And, of course, the tariff's still a wild card, but in the face of tariffs, it seems the inflation numbers have been coming down recently, and that's also been a surprise to many economists. You are in that group. You're an economist as well. What is your outlook on inflation and the wild card on the tariffs' impact?
Frank, there are two major sources of inflation that I know the Federal Reserve pays attention to. We all do in money management, and that would be the demand based or demand pull, they call it, inflation, and there's cost-based or cost-push. Demand pull is caused by strong consumer demand. People want to buy more things than exist or than are being produced. Cost-push inflation is what we're seeing now. This occurs when prices rise because of rising production costs, raw materials, rising wages, tariffs increase costs, and that's a present concern of the Federal Reserve, and that's been cited.
Very interesting. I saw another write-up that said value stocks are back in favor. You wrote the book on value investing, wisdom on value investing. What are your thoughts about value stocks? What are they, first of all, for the general audience?
A value stock is a company that trades for less than its breakup value. A lot of major companies are the combination of all the other smaller companies that they acquired, and the conglomerates will trade for less than the value of all their individual companies or pieces. Those are often value companies. Value stocks occur because of recoverable calamities. There's maybe an accounting irregularity or some industry-wide, bad news phenomena, or maybe the general market goes down and companies, just like, the sale at Nordstrom's or wherever, stocks do go on sale, and those are value stocks. Right now, the home builders, for example, are trading in a value range. Now, will they go lower? Well, for example, Lennar said their average home sale price is down some 8.7% year over year because of high interest rates. Fed reduces interest rates, which I have no doubt they will. Home prices go up. There's a shortage of homes for millennials. We have a 7 million unit shortfall in housing, but Lennar trades. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying here's a company that trades at a very low price to earnings multiple relative to its historic price.
All right, let's take a look at Microsoft, which is at or near an all-time high, and now the most valuable company, blowing past NVIDIA recently. NVIDIA also at or near an all-time high here. What, up $1.36 today at $145 and change. Microsoft at $480 and change. What about those two big names among the Mag 7 and the entire Mag 7 group?
Well, these are great companies, and the market recognizes it. It'd be interesting to see what Microsoft does with OpenAI. They really don't want to be pushed around. They're the 800-pound gorilla, and they'll come up with their own AI model. They're already in the process of developing quantum chips, which are amazing. But the seven magnificent companies, the Mag 7, had beat the broad market, the S&P 500, for the 11th time in 12 years until December. And then they'd had enough. But, nearly a third of the broad market's total value or capitalization was made up of these seven companies. That's not the case right now. The collective market capitalization clearly peaked in December of last year, and then it tumbled some 28 or 29%. I think they're starting to look attractive again, all of them.
Or let me circle back to something we need to focus on. This Circle Internet Group stock has soared another $50 today to $199 as a new Senate bill indicates the government is taking stable coins seriously. Have you had a chance to take a look at that one?
I have, Frank. And, stable coins, they're meant to be a stable asset where you can store your crypto or even traditional currency, but crypto primarily, and where you can get your money out. Now, stable coins were used in some 60% or so of all illicit crypto transactions, 80% of all the financing for terrorist groups, ransomware, cyber fraud. So this legislation, this Genius Act, comes at a very, very good time. With regard to Circle, I was reading recently, and I've only started to follow it peripherally, that the company earned some $1.7 billion in interest income on the reserve assets last year, but they paid $1 billion of that out to distribution fees to third-party platforms, and also they had to pay to Binance to maintain a portion of the Treasury reserves in Circle's stable coin. So, and then BlackRock's got their hand out as well with Circle coin. So the stock's up some 500% in a year and a half or so. I think it's gone as far as it should right here.
Interesting. Yeah, well, it's certainly getting a lot of attention now. And any other specific places, Gabriel Wisdom, where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Frank, the excitement in the U.S. defense industry has been centered on defense technology. It's a small, relatively new area. Some of these are privately held companies. There's Palantir, which is publicly held. It's been a real darling. But some of the others have really lagged, like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Textron. I think these are worth a look, especially now with the conflicts in the Middle East. There are a number of exchange-traded funds where you own them all. And if you want the high-tech, Global X has got a defense technology ETF. The symbol is SHIELD, SHLD, and you get Palantir.
Gabriel Wisdom, thank you very much for taking the call here on a very serious business to be discussed today. Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management, based right here in Southern California. Also author of the book Wisdom on Value Investing. Wish you a great day off tomorrow, Gabriel, and hope to speak with you again very, very soon. Thank you very much for coming to the line this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Out to the freeways now on 790 KBC. Frank Mottek here for United Gold Group. Did you know that for more than 10,000 years, gold has been the greatest store of value and considered a safe haven asset to preserve your wealth? Well, now with the U.S. debt at more than $36 trillion and climbing, the possible recession on the horizon, and the development of the digital dollar, central bank digital currency, it's more critical now than ever before to safeguard your assets like your cash savings and retirement accounts with physical gold. Opening a gold IRA is one of the best ways to secure your wealth and create a stable financial future. Stop worrying about your retirement in the market and cash savings in the bank. Feel confident, prepared, and in control with physical gold and, yes, silver. Give my friends at United Gold Group a call. That number is 800-753-8534. Mention Mottek, and you can get $1,000 worth of silver with a qualifying purchase. Call now, 800-753-8534. or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. I love that song. 790 KBC welcomes Herman's Hermit, starring Peter Noon, with special guests the Grassroots and the Buckinghams. Coming to the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on July 23rd as part of the Toyota Summer Concert Series. Tickets are on sale now at pacamp.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-795-2222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show if you're caller number 9. Tickets include admission to the OC Fair, by the way, and tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Mixed finish for the stock market today with the Dow slipping 44, S&P 500 down 2, NASDAQ up 25 as the Fed held the line on short-term rates and investors focus on the Middle East. The price of oil hovering just below $75 a barrel in New York. Gold at $3,386 an ounce. Silver just below $37 an ounce. Platinum at $1,320 and change. Bitcoin right now is getting a pop above 105,000 again. Ethereum at 25.33 and Doge at 17 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC.
Looking for a degree program that rewards you for what you already know? At WGU, all of our bachelor's and master's programs are competency-based, allowing you to progress at your own pace. Washingtonians know how valuable time and money are, and so do we. At WGU, your hard work and experience can help you finish your degree faster and for less. Join a community of driven professionals from across the DMV who are unlocking new career opportunities today. See how your knowledge can give you an edge at wgu.edu.
Expert entrepreneur Ed Milet is on a mission to max out your life.
We're throwing open the metaphorical closet doors of our lives. We're going to be cleaning out the closet. What no longer fits? Audit some of your relationships. How about auditing your emotions? Maybe it's your career you need to look at. Get your life together for this season.
The Ed Milet Show.
It's time for a little cleaning of the soul. Let's get a little ruthless, a little refreshing, and a little real. God bless you, everyone.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues now, 790 KBC. Turning now to the Middle East. President Trump telling senior aides that he approved of attack plans for Iran, but was holding off to see if Iran would abandon its nuclear program. This is according to the the Wall Street Journal. This is a day after the president demanded Iran's unconditional surrender and said the U.S. won't kill its supreme leader for now. Iranian supreme leader today said his country would not surrender and warned any U.S. military intervention would bring irreparable consequences. In the meantime, the U.S. military buildup continues in the Middle East. I'm also looking at the latest headlines here. President Trump says he only wants total and complete victory in Iran. The regime could fall. Israel downing an Iranian drone after sirens sounded in northern Israel. And we're following these very latest headlines here. Joining us live now is Middle East expert Dan RAVIV, former network news correspondent, author of numerous books, including his latest, Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars, Every Spy a Prince, and his latest book, The Quest for Significance. Dan RAVIV, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Sure thing, Frank. It's hard to believe that this Israel-Iran war started just on Thursday night because, every day we've had dozens of headlines. Just look at the list you were just rattling off, Frank. And since then, I can tell you just in the past hour, the Israel Defense Forces say that there was another barrage of missiles from Iran, but none of them hit anybody this time. So says Israel. So we start having this sense that maybe Iran doesn't have as many capabilities now, that, in a sense, maybe Iran's ability to launch missiles has been suppressed by the Israelis. That's the way it looks right now.
Looking at another headline, the Israeli Air Force continuing to strike Tehran, meanwhile, targeting a police headquarters and centrifuge production sites. The focus of the attacks on the military sites, it seems, and also the police department there in Tehran now, as Israel tries to completely wipe out Iran's nuclear program and ability to build a nuclear bomb, something that's been the focus of our conversations for many years. What is your reaction to the timing? And you're absolutely right. It was just less than a week ago that all this unfolded.
Well, according to the Israelis, they had intelligence that Iran had decided to move quickly to enrich more uranium to a higher degree, the degree that's needed, 90% enrichment, to build a nuclear bomb and put together the parts. Prime Minister Netanyahu didn't present any evidence, by the way. It was a case of Israel saying, hey, you've got to believe us, that it could be a matter of weeks or at most months, and they felt they had to act now. Now, we've also discussed, Frank, that the Israelis feel that since last year, Iran is quite weakened, especially its air defenses, and I think that turned out to be true when the Israelis made their decision to move on this last Thursday night. Frankly, they had a really easy time. They took out more of the air defenses. They've been able to bomb just about any place they want, and they say there are two goals. One is to stop the nuclear program, and the other is the ballistic missiles that Iran has. They had 2,000 long-range ballistic missiles that are very hard to stop, and they would cause horrible damage to Israel or any country in the Middle East, and maybe eventually even Europe and, eventually the United States. And so Israel says it had to act against both those things, the nuclear program and the ballistic missiles. And again, Israel claims a lot of progress. And I think President Trump has gotten on Israel's side so visibly because it's going very well for Israel as of now.
We go way back. You covered the first Persian Gulf War, the second Persian Gulf War. I believe you were in Israel when Israel was being attacked by Iraqi Scud missiles back in those days when they were blown out of the sky by American-made Patriot missiles. Certainly, Israel's Iron Dome defense system has been put in place since then. How would you rate the effectiveness of the Israeli defenses against these now Iranian attacks?
Yeah, I can tell you a lot of my contacts in Israel are frankly a bit disappointed that any or many of Iran's missiles did get through since this past Friday. And so the Israeli death toll is at least 25. And officials say, and it's kind of hard for them to say this, to the public, that's hurting, and a lot of buildings have been damaged, and as I said, about 25 people or more have died, that it could have been a lot worse, that the predictions were that a lot of rockets would get through. Who knew? From Hezbollah in Lebanon as well as from Iran. And so they're saying they did pretty well, more than 90% shot down by Iron Dome and two other systems, the Arrow 2 and the Arrow 3, that shoot down missiles at much higher altitudes, even out there beyond the atmosphere. And so it looks to me like those systems are doing quite well. But even one missile getting through with a 1-ton explosive warhead is causing a lot of damage. But I feel that Israelis are standing up to it really well, kind of like what you said. The Gulf War, going back to 1991, and Israelis are being very brave about this, I think.
On the air live with Middle East expert and longtime broadcaster Dan RAVIV, network news correspondent. And Dan RAVIV, what is your reaction to the report I cited in the Wall Street Journal saying President Trump has indicated that he approved of attack plans for Iran, but waiting to see if Iran would abandon its nuclear program and basically surrender as he's asked?
Yeah, that means that in the Situation Room, he had meetings with military advisors, and the Pentagon presented its plan as to what it would do if it were to join the war against Iran. So that means he approved the plan, right? But he didn't decide that we'll carry out the plan. He still wants to give Iran a chance to agree to come to the table. He says that Iran would have to agree to give up its nuclear program entirely, no uranium enrichment inside Iran. That could happen. It could, and he wants to give that more of a chance. Don't forget, Donald Trump really wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize. He's always resented the fact that Barack Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize, and so he wants to be a peacemaker. He doesn't really want to bomb Iran. But if the Iranians call his bluff, I think the U.S. would do it.
On the live with Dan RAVIV, earlier this week, we spoke to a prominent Jewish American leader, Richard Sandler, former head of the Federation here in Los Angeles, as well as nationally, and the Israeli Consul General Israel Bahar was on this program, and we noted that this Israeli action, of course, all taking place following the attack by Hamas on Israel on October 7, 2023, and right after that happened, the Wall Street Journal, I believe the very next day, had a detailed report about Iran's involvement in that attack as well.
Well, yeah, Iran for many years has been supporting terrorist groups and extremists all over the Middle East, and they certainly include Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Now, Hamas has been smashed, right? And not all the hostages are released. Israel says that still there are 52 hostages. Unfortunately, maybe only 20 are alive. Hamas is still there in Gaza, but it's being pounded every day. So, it's not a total victory for Israel at this point, but it is certainly a setback for Iran. And Iran's other big proxy, Hezbollah in Lebanon, totally silenced by Israel, which, among other things, was able to kill the leader of Hezbollah in Beirut. So Hezbollah hasn't launched a single missile from the north at Israel. It's like Iran stands alone right now. And so, again, the Israelis are pretty satisfied they've made a lot of progress, but they think this is the opportunity to really push Iran to give up its nukes and the ballistic missile program. By the way, when Netanyahu is asked, do you also want to overthrow Iran's government, he says that's up to the Iranian people. But, Frank, I'm sure you know that is a real possibility when the government of the Ayatollahs is weakened and embarrassed.
We will continue to follow this very closely. Dan RAVIV, of course, a veteran broadcaster and podcaster nowadays with the Mossad files. Congratulations on that at this critical moment. And Dan RAVIV, also author of numerous books, including the latest, Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars, Every Spy a Prince, and the latest book, The Quest for Significance. Dan RAVIV, thank you very, very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
My pleasure, Frank. All the best.
Thank you very much. And out to the freeways now on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Downtown L.A. residents, businesses, and yes, the homeless dealing with the fallout from a week-long curfew, which has now ended following turbulent times in the downtown Los Angeles area over the past week, making the plight of the homeless even worse. They did find a safe space and life-saving help at the Union Rescue Mission, the #1 organization helping the homeless in Los Angeles. And joining us live now is the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission, Mark Hood. Mark, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, thanks for having me on your show again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much. And for listeners of the Just Help One radio show and podcast, presented every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. here on 790 KABC, people know that you're doing an amazing job there leading this organization following Reverend Andy Bales, and want to talk to you about the situation there in downtown Los Angeles, especially given recent events. Tell us what's happening there at URM there on Skid Row.
Well, it's a big team at Union Rescue Mission, and they're all focused on one thing, and that's ending homelessness for the people that walk through our doors. So the recent events that have happened in downtown with the protests and the violence, it certainly has complicated the situation, a lot of frightened people, but our mission has not changed. We invite anyone that's experiencing homelessness through our doors, and our job and our mission is to end homelessness for those people that come to us. And so, we are not a political arm. We very much believe in our city. We believe that we are the City of Angels, and we believe that with a community approach, we have an opportunity to make a huge impact in a positive way to the people that are experiencing homelessness. And Frank, as you know, because you're a partner in this as well, we're seeing success every single day. Men, women, children, families that are ending homelessness forever and finding their way home through the structure at Union Rescue Mission.
And for those supporting Union Rescue Mission, they should know that it's no drugs or alcohol permitted on the premises, right? And the fact that you're taking care of women, children, families, seniors, all very, very important for the folks to know. Tell us more about that.
Well, we are absolutely a sober living facility. We are all about people getting their lives back, being reunited with families, getting back into a healthy community, finding living wage jobs, finding permanent housing, and that happens through sober living. And so, we have a facility that's filled with the men, women, and children. We want it to feel like a home, not a shelter. And so we want people to feel safe there. We want it to be an environment that's healthy for recovery, whether that recovery is from addiction or trauma or domestic violence or whatever you may have experienced in your life that took you to a homeless situation. It could just be you missed a paycheck. We want that to be an environment that's conducive to recovery and getting you back home and being safe. And so, yes, we absolutely have been and will continue to be a sober living facility.
And certainly Richard Newcomb, the Vice President of Philanthropy at Union Rescue Mission, has kept us well informed about events coming up, including one this weekend at Griffith Park. The magnificent Griffith Park will be the scene of the Union Rescue Mission 5K Run Walk this weekend on Saturday. Tell us more about the big event.
Oh, my goodness, Frank. This event I am so excited about. And I hope the whole community gets excited because there's been a lot of negative energy. And listen, I'm not saying that people protesting and exercising their right to their right to assembly and free speech is necessarily negative, but we've all seen that it's turned negative from time to time. And we're all about healing. We're all about uniting the community. And this 5K, it's something we've been doing. This is our 8th year. It's going to be at Griffith Park this Saturday. Registration's at 7 o'clock. Start time's at 8:30. And it's about uniting our community. It's about coming together for something that's meaningful and important. Not only are you going to get to run and walk in a beautiful environment, but you're going to be supporting something that's making a difference in our Los Angeles community. You're going to be helping to heal people. You're going to be helping to help people find their way home. You're going to be helping to reunite mothers with children and fathers with their families. And it's going to be a beautiful event. It's going to be, we got a DJ, we're going to have food, we're going to have music, we're going to have fun. So we really invite the community to come out and support. It is a great way to transition into something that brings us together as Angelinos.
That is wonderful, and people can get more information at urm5k.org. Again, that's urm5k.org to register and participate. I intend to be out there with you, Mark Hood. It'll be an honor to be supported there of that great event and wholeheartedly support Union Rescue Mission, of course. And it's going to be a terrific event this Saturday at Griffith Park, starting first thing in the morning, and a great 5K run-walk event. And it should also be noted that Union Rescue Mission maintains the highest possible rating from Charity Navigator, something that's also very important to note at this time.
Yeah, when you register for this event and you pay your registration or you become a sponsor, you're not just running a race. 86 cents of every dollar goes back to changing lives, to getting people reunited with their families, to helping children find their way home, helping moms find a job, helping dads find a trade. 86 cents of every dollar goes towards restoring lives. And, we encourage you to register over the next couple days, to come there already pre-registered. But if for some reason you make a decision at the last minute, hey, I just want to show up and run and I want to contribute, I want to be a part of what's happening, just show up. We're not going to turn anybody away. We want it to be a big event. We want it to be a community event. We want it to be a reuniting event for our Los Angeles community.
Wonderful. Mark Hood, the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission, thank you very much for taking the call live with us here this afternoon on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Again, you can register, support, and sponsor the 5K event this weekend on Saturday at Griffith Park. Go to urm5k.org. Also, stay tuned for the Just Help One radio show and podcast, which airs Thursday evening at 6 o'clock right here on your favorite station, 790 KBC. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz right here, 790 KBC.
The United States Soccer Federation presents the U.S. Soccer Podcast.
Inside the opening 45 seconds. What a goal!
Jack McGlynn with that cannon of a left foot.
Never miss a game.
What a start for the United States.
Shot for distance. What a goal!
Never miss a moment.
Exquisite from the San Diegan.
Can he finish? Yes, he can! Yeah!
The U.S. Soccer Podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.